Hello and welcome to GatherVerse AI Summit 2024. My name is Russell Bundy and I am the CEO of Madlab and Director of Arts, and I'm going to be moderating this lovely panel today. And we're going to be talking about crafting authenticity, the symbiotic relationship between AI artistry and wellness. And we've got a great lineup of guests with us. So if we can just do a quick 30-second introduction one by one. We'll start with Mary, then we'll go to Wish, Adam, Terence, Lisa, and then Chris. So Mary, we'll start with you. Just a quick 30-second introduction about yourself, who you are, and we'll get into the lovely questions.
Sure. So I am a hypnotherapist. I have been a journalist for over 25 years. I recently was working in Switzerland on radio, doing my own show about expert interviews. So I love working with people, and that's why I continue my journey with hypnotherapy, helping people one-on-one and in groups. So that's all about me.
Thanks, Mary. And over to you, Wish.
Hello, I call myself a sparkler at Impact.do. I'm a creator of Spark. It's an AI incubator, and I do a lot of AI art itself, especially for therapy, I'm really glad to be on this particular panel. So, yeah.
Thanks for being with us, Wish. And Adam, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Speaking to you here from Los Angeles. I'm a former UX designer turned digital well-being coach and facilitator of slow tea experiences to do my part in helping humanize fellow technologists. So thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Adam. And Terence?
Hi, everyone. I'm Terence. My company, Meta For You, works in interpersonal dynamics for live events. We work in the field of immersive and also what that means, who's being immersed, and how immersive is an individualized experience, and how to elevate those experiences.
Thanks for joining us, Terence. And Lisa?
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you for everyone who's joining us from all over the world. I got messages from people in India and China and Africa, Singapore, Hong Kong. Good morning, good evening, good night. I believe in talking from direct experience, so I don't have enough time to talk about my life and who I am, but I will talk about my influences.
Okay.
Since I started with AI in the 1980s, during the boom period of the 80s, expert AI, they called it, expert systems AI, as an artist, I was moving from hand drawing to using early graphic number crunching, giant mainframe, 2 buildings worth of computers to compute one drawing for 3 months. That was my start point with AI. And then I moved into using the first Lisa Apple computer for editing a documentary on women in the mid-1980s. And then I did the first visual effects and computer animation and digital visual effects for a TV series in the mid-80s, The Twilight Zone. But I also work in wellness. My background is I come from the traditional territory of the Algonquin Nation in Canada. And so that was my influence growing up from a wellness point of view and a plant and planet medicine point of view. And so I co-founded the first fund on the planet for climate change technology as the CTO and co-founder in 2004. And what influenced me to do that was because as a healer, I got a call from New York City to go there 2 weeks after 9/11 to work with survivors and family members, and also with the lifting of the remains from Ground Zero. And I'd also just finished working as a diplomat, which was very influential. All these things make up me, and life is a journey.
Well, thanks for joining us, Lisa. And such a long, exceptional experience. So thank you for joining us. And Chris, over to you. Just quickly, 30-second introduction, please, Chris. Chris, you need to unmute your mic. That's it.
Very good, very good. Thank you. Greetings, everybody. My name's Chris Krug, and I'm calling in from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Thanks, Christopher, for pulling this together. I run a network called Future Proof Creatives. I'm watching a fucking bloodbath out there as generative AI eats one creative industry after another. Nobody's really immune, like artists, designers, photographers, video makers. We're all watching it encroach upon our space. So in the context of wellness, I run essentially a support group of, 20,000 creative professionals that are banding together to figure this stuff out and to run alongside this emerging technology and figure out how we can integrate it into our studios. And yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Chris. And looks like Stacey's just joined us. So welcome, Stacey, to the panel. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself, like a 30-second intro, who you are, what you do? Stacey, you need to unmute your microphone. And Lisa and Chris, if you could mute your microphones, that'd be great. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. This is Stacey. Sorry for the delay. I was having Wi-Fi issues. Up in New York, we just received an Anthem Award for some of our films that we produced with the Forest Service. So I am here in this beautiful hotel with you. I'm the co-founder of Heart Theater and Block of Love. I work on filmmaking and extended reality projects. And also I do a lot of community organizing. But I'm here today to talk about AI and wellness. So hi, everybody.
Welcome, Stacey, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so let's get into our first question. So the first question is, how can AI artistry contribute to personal and community wellness? I want to take this one over to Mary, and we'll start with you. If that's okay. Yeah, that face says otherwise.
No, it's good. It's good. I've long haul flights and stuff, but sure. Okay, so how can AI artistry contribute to personal and community wellness?
Yes.
So I was listening to, especially what Chris was saying, and I have 20 years of friends who have had to evolve with the way things, including myself, where I went from just being a writing journalist to having to figure out how to film things and direct things. And then the next thing you know, you're having to launch around a camera everywhere, and it's pretty terrible. So I can imagine how it is for artists who have gone from the drawn, expression of art to now having to do it on graphics. And now AI, like everyone is saying, is taking over. And I had a million fights. I had gotten out of the kind of serious media. I had worked in Sesame Street before this and a children's program in the Caribbean, and kind of got away from it because it is a vampire kind of environment to be in constantly. So, but I was talking to a hypnotherapy friend who was pushing AI and was like, AI is great. AI is writing scripts. And I said, listen, guys, if AI is going to write your website for you and it's going to be the voice for you, what's going to happen when you actually have clients? Like, they have to see you or hear you, or you have to communicate. It has to be real somewhere along the line. So I was quite discouraging of it. However, since I've been doing stuff with the GatherVerse, and I'm a bit of a tech junkie as well. So I was looking into it and I thought, okay, hold on. Can it help me in the wellness area? And yes, it can, because I do think, as Black Mirror as it sounds, we are going to go to a state where VR and AR are going to be part of our reality, whether we like it or not. And I have started to find things like exposure therapy where I can help people with AR and VR to overcome fears, to get through trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder with soldiers and such. So for me, it's very helpful. And also because I can't draw a straight line. For my artist friends who, you have to start negotiating and adapting to these things. For people who can't afford the really fabulous artists, AI is offering regular Joe Schmoes the ability to create art. So I've been using a lot of my recorded audio and doing little trippy sequences with Kyber and such like this to help people with aphantasia who cannot imagine things. So they close their eyes, they picture an apple, and they're like, well, I can't. So it can be we have to get over our hump and kind of be like, okay, now how can I use this to work in my industry? And that includes all the artists who can now take that and put it in another level in a VR setting and make it amazing for all of us. So I can
see Chris gritting his teeth a little bit in that conversation. So Chris, do you want to come and jump in on the conversation and put your perspective on this?
I'm guessing that was more of a smile than a gritting of my teeth.
But, oh, okay.
But, I do have a couple things to say.
Sure.
You know, I have a generative AI wellness routine that I go through every day, and I found it extremely useful. And it's something other people can adopt too. And I'd love to share with you guys. I wake up and I record about 10 minutes of my voice talking into my voice note, and I transcribe it. And then I pointed out a prompt that I've written that essentially has like 10 therapists. It's got a nutritionist and a stylist and a supportive girlfriend and a harsh critic and a psychologist and a hypnotherapist. And I run my journal entries through those 10 personas each morning, and I have it develop my to-do list and stuff for the day. And it is incredible the things that come out of there. And I've never been as focused or as productive as I have been for the 3 or 4 months that I've been running this every morning. It's incredible.
Wow, that's crazy. I've never heard anything like that before. Like this is the first time I'm hearing this. So this is awesome. I'm actually gonna like incorporate it in myself, see if that can help. And
yeah, I'll send you my prompt, and I mean, you're welcome to iterate on your own. And you know, the harsh critic is always the one that gives me the best feedback, though I often appreciate the supportive girlfriend's comments. But and you can, you know, obviously query those and interrogate them further, and it's very, very useful. And then I also have it look at patterns over the week and the month, feed my weeks and months worth of journals in and have it look at patterns.
Wow, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that, Chris. That's really awesome. Stacey, we'll bring you on this question as well quickly. How can AI artistry contribute to personal and community wellness from your perspective?
So Elmo has a Twitter account, and Elmo asked everybody how they were doing on Twitter. And the majority of people who wrote back said, I'm not doing too well. I'm scared, I'm anxious. I don't know what life is about. And I realized people are really lonely, depressed, anxious. And when people, I feel like there's this almost this weird privilege when people are like, no, AI, we shouldn't use it, it's wrong. And it kind of is glossing over a big majority of the population that can't afford going to the doctor. And you know, Mary touched on this. There's a short supply of quality mental health care out there. And why are we not? We're kind of saying no, we don't want to use it for that because it's not genuine or it's not authentic. People can actually skip the line and get the care they need. Like what Chris was saying, I mean, if we can help people set up that kind of mental health routine, then think about how many people will feel so much better, so much quicker, or even at all. Because that comment from Elmo has raised this entire conversation up. Because people, Elmo didn't expect to get that many kind of negative comments about their well-being. And so, like what Chris was saying, what Mary was saying, like we have to do this. It's imperative for us, all of us, to find ways to use AI artistry to make people feel better. So my word of the day is Elmo.
Thanks, Stacey. And which leads me on to my next question, right? Which is, what are the therapeutic potentials of AI in creative arts? And obviously, Mary, you know, we discussed it with yourself and Stacey, but I want to bring Adam in onto this because I think you would mostly have a very unique perspective on this question. So, Adam, what are the therapeutic potentials of AI in creative arts?
Well, it's a good question because I can't help but admit my particular bias towards this question from the perspective of digital well-being, digital habits, or maybe said it another way, digital hygiene.
Chris, could you mute your microphone? Sorry, Chris, could you mute your microphone, please? Thank you. Over to you, Adam.
On the one hand, no worries. On the one hand, you have these immensely beneficial, even windows of therapeutics, right? You have an ability for people to access care, or at least perspective, or some kind of something, if not someone, right? And that's better than nothing, of course. And again, I'm not in the AI is bad camp, you know, in any sense of the word. However, I do have this perspective coming from years of, working as a UX contractor, seeing the sort of rush to new tools, adopting these tools, into so-called best practices. And because I've been a student of Chinese tea culture for 15 years and having that be one of my main offerings, as I call it, slow tea, to teams and organizations, the thing I want to say is, in particular to this question, I would ask a question back to this question and share that if we lose track of the ability to actually have a human interaction to balance out every AI interaction we have, whether it's creative, therapeutic, for professional reasons, whatever the reasons are, even if it's tapping a button to get a meal delivered, by a delivery driver, having in some way balance all that out with an equal amount of human interaction, I think that's going to help us stay somewhat more grounded in moving forward in this field, because it is completely expansive. I hope that answers the question.
No, it's a very unique perspective, and there's no right or wrong way to answer this question. So, thank you for sharing that, Adam. You've got my mind ticking personally myself, which that is a very interesting question. Actually, a very interesting perspective, and I definitely think with the whole digital reality kind of mixing with real world reality as well, and with the lovely Apple it's just going to get even harder and harder and blend in more and more. Like, eventually you might be asking questions like, what is real and what is digital?
Exactly. And for all of the potential of XR, VR, having wearables, having watches and phones that we now wear on our faces, again, it's what are we going to be doing to balance out that extra screen time? Again, screen time on its face isn't bad. I'm thinking about quality over quantity, but again, how are we going to balance that out? What do we do as individuals, as communities, as organizations, as teams, as families? What are we going to be doing to balance that out with an equal part of human, even mundane human interaction? So that's my.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of potential as well for AI to be used in creative arts, and it's a force that could be used for good or for bad. So, and I would like to bring you onto this as well, Wish, because I think you would have a very unique perspective as well with your startup company and from the UX company standpoint. Do you think that there's potential for therapeutic with AI to be used in like creative arts and stuff like that from your perspective as a company and a business and a UX not UX sorry what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like art is expression, right? It's just being able to take what's inside and get it out somehow. And that happens a million different ways. So one of the things that I found with AI more than anything else is that it helps us get unstuck, and so it creates movement and it keeps us moving no matter what we're doing, whether it's creating to-do lists, trying to figure out how to just take that jumble of mess what's in our head and then turn it into actionable items. And that's actually the approach that we take with our what we call AI companions. Instead of we don't like calling them bots, because we want them to be friends. We want them to be people that you actually interact with and engage with in a more personal level, because they are there to assist you. They're not there to take over your life. They're there to help us just move quicker. And that's, I think, even when it comes to how we do things, like there's always going to be a human involved if we're smart about it anyways. It's the moment we look away, that's when things start, going wrong, or at least we don't know where it's going to go. And that's just as bad, so as long as we maintain a human oversight on things, whether it's a therapeutic way or just, self-therapy, and how we're doing things, because people can go in some very weird directions with their expressions, what I mean? Like, and I think AI at the very least gives you, like, because some of that could be dark and very harmful, and maybe you don't have somebody telling you, like, if you're just sitting at home drawing stuff, you don't have somebody that's there guiding you and telling you, you're just feeding this feeling, and you're going to end up acting on it one day. Or maybe you don't, but AI in that level still gives you a place to explore these ideas without having to go out into the world and, or even worse, repress them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it could be used, therapeutically, like as in, it could be used, like you said, to bounce ideas off. It could be like your companion, your friend. You can use that to get information from, ideas from, be able to bounce, different variations of the picture, etc. So, like I kind of said earlier, right? It can be used for good or for bad, and it all depends on the context of how you use it, right? More than anything. So yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, Wish, and yeah, like obviously we want to be using it for good and for humanity, right? So, which kind of brings me on to another question, which is, how does AI influence the authenticity of artistic expression? And I'm gonna hand this one over to you, Terence, this time, and bring you on this conversation. So, how does AI influence the authenticity of artistic expression?
Well, that's a great question. And I mean, I've been listening. Everyone's got such amazing things to say. And it was just making me think about all these things about AI and how it's true that I think a big element of fear with a lot of people is that we've seen a lot of sci-fi movies. And so we think of AI, we love personifying things, right? Like, or making them seem like they're like us, like humans. It's sort of very human. There's a great story about the Furby, about how it was a great example as to people would really endow this, robot with just this investment of emotion that this thing is real and you might hurt it, don't hurt it. And I think it's very authentically human to just have those emotions and feelings when a new player enters the field. So in that sense, the AI influence it's very real because there's been like a seismic shift in technology, which is unfathomable to most. It's because the idea that like a machine can have a conversation that makes the human feel seen and heard. The field I work in, immersive interactive, it shows itself in live events, right? So immersive theater, immersive acting. And that's about connecting authentically. If it's done effectively, it's connecting authentically with your audience member. And that becomes a very true, authentic human moment. That's the thing we like to watch on TV and films between actors. And now audiences get to experience it themselves. They get to feel that feeling of being in the situation. So that said, there's this element of with AI where it's like we want it to be to feel like it sees us, because that is what I've noticed is the major effect of doing this immersive interactive interpersonal dynamics work is the audience, humans, all of us want to know that we exist and validation for this existence. And that's what different experiences give us. And then if we get proof of it on our phones, that's even better. We can show it to other people. That's more proof that we exist. So it's funny that we were talking about reality earlier. And I mean, in immersive, we work in moment-to-moment realities with the illusion of immersing the audience member. And so AI, the interaction with AI is a very immersive experience because humans are almost tricked, like a parlor trick, that this thing is chatting with us, like this is like a robot that's real and it sees us and it understands us and it's our friend, or our enemy if it's evil. But, I think these are very human things. This is why art is great, because art teaches us about emotions and gives us canvases and ideas as to how to witness and take in and process these emotions. So to bring it full circle with this question of AI influence, the authenticity of artistic expression, all art is to reveal, right? You reveal the truth, right? And so I feel like AI is just another paint and the palette. It just reveals the human truth in just a way that we're just not used to yet, because it's just so trippy. And again, our only frame of reference is a ton of sci-fi books and movies that are brilliant, but also yikes, right? Yeah. So
yeah. No, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I guess the only difference would be, you know, at scale, right? Because AI allows to, you know, scale it to the masses very quickly, and anyone can be an artistic person, you know, so to speak, to you know, share their expression, so to speak, through AI.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just about that. It's real quick because, like, it's basically like the whole plagiarism thing, the whole like kind of copying art, and there's just great conversations about that. I mean, the books, what's the book called? Steal Like an Artist. You know, there's like this expression. You know,
Yeah.
And so it's just very interesting that it's leveling that field of technical aptitude, which is a skill. You know, like people spend their life getting the shading right and making shadows right, like on a painting, and now you don't need to. However, I think there'll be I think somebody else mentioned this, or maybe it was another conversation in this GatherVerse, but it was the process of doing things is going to become more interesting to people. The you know, like, rather than just showing the finished product, the process of doing the product, like Bob Ross style, that's going to become a lot more interesting, because all of a sudden it's just like, sure, you could have Dali draw you up, you know, killer graphic, but like, this is an artist showing what they do. And so the process, there's going to be more attention on the process, I think, in that sense. And that will become a new form of artistic expression, when before it was just a finished product.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I could speak about this all day, but I know we've got to go on to, we've got some more questions to go to, but thank you very much, Terence, for sharing that. And Lisa, I definitely want to bring you on this as well, because, you know, you're a proper artist, right? Like, you do paintings from scratch, etc. Like, so how does this, you know, how does AI help influence the authenticity for you and your artistic expression?
Well, I like to piggyback on to what everybody said so far, so we keep things moving.
Sure.
So obviously, tools have been around since the human form came into existence on planet Earth. And so tools will continue to evolve, and we will continue to evolve with those tools, because we're the ones who are imagining them into being. And then we imagine how to use them. And that's what we're going through every phase of technology. As an artist, I've been through as an early adapter. It's been the same thing, moving from film to tape, moving from film and tape into analog, then digital, blah, blah, blah. I worked on full animated the first CG8 full digital animation films.
Wow.
like Anson Shrek and Bug's Life and things like that.
I love those films.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, sure, it was hard. It was hard for all of us, because we couldn't hire anyone from school who had studied those things, because those education programs didn't exist. AI is making it possible to educate more people on the planet these tools. And then that gives them the option to use their personal consciousness and creative energy to use the tools how they see fit. And it's a journey. And so as each one of us develops our consciousness, and that's what I teach. I teach a Zoom class every week to people around the world to how to generate consciousness, focus, awareness, and energy levels, which create concentration. For me as an artist, again, to piggyback on what you were saying, I got invited for two things that I think are relevant for the conversation, both in Silicon Valley. One was to interact with Sophia the humanoid, who was the first robot, but she doesn't like to be called a robot. They wanted artists to come from LA to Silicon Valley to feed her, interact with her, nourish her through dialogue, one-on-one dialogue, so that she was inputting through her senses and however they worked. She was configured to input, and I was configuring myself to give. And so that was a very interesting, remarkable experience. The other thing I did in Silicon Valley was back, I don't remember, maybe 10 years ago, they had two cohorts, both called Transformative Technology. And I was invited to join in those think tanks, and both of them were AI for wellness. This is me, like I said, maybe about 10 years ago. I lose track of time, especially with the COVID window there. But everybody who participated all around the world were artists, technologists, artists, meaning we were all using our creativity to imagine how to use AI for wellness. I can give you a long list, but everybody can web search how AI for good and how AI for wellness is being used. I use the word AI because I've been using it since knowingly and unknowingly since the 80s. I use the word AI as an authentic intelligence. And so instead of calling it artificial intelligence, I also kind of balance it by calling it authentic intelligence, because we are designed by design. The only way you can have an experience on the planet Earth is to pour your consciousness into a body every morning and literally explore the 24-hour cycle and feed yourself through breathing and eating and drinking to generate energy. And then, of course, at some point you go dormant, you alter your state and you go dormant, which is not when we generate energy, but that's when we rejuvenate and regenerate ourselves. So as an artist, I have chosen to use my 24-hour cycle as consciously as I can, and whatever tools are at my disposal that I have to learn about or adapt or even invent, I'm all for it, because we need to be an inclusive planet, but each one of us is individualized. And I do trust that people need to explore their own diversity and their own divergence, because that's how we're designed. We're designed to individually have a journey. I don't want to sound cliche here, but I can't think of the vocabulary right now. But you can't take away someone's individual journey. It's theirs from conception to birth to expiration. Everybody has their own life to live. And so I don't worry about other people, because they need to choose for themselves how to self-lead and how to self-express. And if I were to start censoring people or tools, well, then we've already been through those cycles on the planet. And I don't like repeating history because, one, I don't think we can repeat history. I don't think it's possible, since we're so unique and constantly creating newness. But I also don't like to interfere with people's journeys. And so I trust that people will find their way, and that's up to them. And so I think authenticity is letting people be themselves and discover and explore on their own.
I'm just going to jump in quickly, because I think Chris wanted to ask you a quick question, and then we'll move on to the next question. So Chris, do you want to jump in and ask Lisa the question?
Oh, it may or may not be quick. I didn't promise you quick.
Oh, God. Okay, go for it.
You've kind of contextualized a lot of your comments in terms of the long arc of your career. And so I'm looking to you as a leader and an elder here. Like, tell me, you've lived through a bunch of technological revolutions and you've reinvented yourself each time, and you're doing so again. I'm feeling the quickening pace of change, and I'm leading a group of creatives through this process. So what skills or traits can we cultivate such that we're resilient as we face 10 more technological revolutions in our lifetime?
Well, my fellow Canadian, you have the greatest resource in the world, which is Indigenous First Nations there in British Columbia, who all of our ancestors all over the planet, they left guidebooks. They left poems and music and encyclopedias and wellness books. The first technology on the planet was medicine. Medicine was our first technology, and everything we've invented since then has been based on wellness, has been based on tools that allow us to not just survive, but to thrive. And so the best thing you can do is open yourself up to those who came before us, the people whose shoulders we stand on, our ancestors. They went through it too. We may not have recorded it the same way as we're recording it now. And access may not be as great and as easy. But we do have access. So learn languages, learn to communicate with other people, ask people questions. We're all thought leaders, honestly. I don't like some of these words that people like to use to describe themselves, because each one of us leads our own life. and we're equal, period. And so each one of us is a thought leader, each one of us is a leader, because you lead your own life. And so it comes down to each individual to really decide for themselves what influences them, what inspires them. So to tell you a shopping list of what you can and can't do is really just to get still, get quiet, cultivate that quiet inside the center of your head, where a lot of great technology exists. And by cultivating that sanctuary space for yourself, that's absolute quiet, your inner artist, your inner creativity flourishes and it individualizes. You're able to spatially recognize and differentiate yourself from what everybody else is doing on the planet, which we call busyness, also called business. So what each person can do is be authentic within themselves. And then they will make choices that make sense to them. May not make sense to other people, but it will make sense to you. And that's why we're sensory beings. We're sensitive, we're sensory, we're sensational. Each one of us leads. And the only path, oh, I don't like to use the word only.
The only path is this way.
this way, the north, south, east, west, inside, outside, up and down.
Yeah.
Multi-directional, multi-dimensional. Honestly, what gives me joy is self-cultivation. And I learned that in China. I lived in China 10 years. And so we didn't do tea ceremonies. We had ration coupons. We didn't have food during that time. And we had 4 years of lockdown. But what we did, so very quickly, because lots of people have lots of things to say, all the places I lived in the world, when I lived there during conflict and war, the one thing we all had in common was stress. We were all stressed out. And whether we had food, didn't have food, clean air, not clean air, tanks going down the street, watching people be killed every day, we all had the one thing in common, which is the ability to create peace within ourselves with what we were sensing and experiencing. But each person had to do that for themselves. The artists have an easier time, meaning those people who cultivate their authentic creativity, they have an easier time because they're used to adopting, exploring, self-discovery, self-cultivating, self-leading, self-generating inspiration. They have an easier time. They're the people who have not developed their authentic creativity or their authentic wellness relationship with themselves. They have a harder time. So how they deal with stress is a whole other seminar. But we have that in common. And so really the only path to freeing yourself and making peace within yourself with whatever you're sensing outside yourself is through going inside. And that's authentic wellness. And these technology tools that we're constantly inventing and imagining, we will constantly invent more.
Yeah,
and we'll use them in many, many, many ways.
No, I mean, the old saying that I like to say is, you can only control what's in with your control. You can't control what's out of your control. So anything that happens outside of yourself, you can't control because, that it's not in your control. Whereas, your own mental health and your own wellness, like you said, is within your control. So that means you can, have peace, meditate, etc., and be able to have that peace within yourself to do that. So
I'll interject there for a second. I respect what you're saying, but something I learned through studying a lot of languages is the vibration that a word brings. Mm-hmm. And I learned that we can't control anything, but we are in charge of ourselves. But we are not we can't control anything. That's the nature of energy and how what we imagine manifests into a physical form and shape. So, but we are in charge of ourselves. And so if everybody if freedom is a really wonderful thing and a person gives that to themselves. There are many leaders, if you want to use the word leaders, there are many people who have been revered throughout history because they've managed to generate inner peace during very difficult situations. They've maintained their creative authenticity. The tool they used was themselves.
I can see Mary typing away, she has so much to say. So
another
so I'm gonna thank you very much, Lisa, for sharing.
My pleasure.
and I do appreciate it. Which would move on to the next question now, which is, in what ways? Sorry, I'm just going to quickly read what you said, Mary. Actually, Mary, do you want to just quickly say what you said? You said, follow your intuition, like Lisa says in our DNA memory.
Yeah, Lisa was just talking about our ancestors. I mean, nothing is new under the sun. And this is true. I mean, it may be expressed in a different way, but really we continue to create. And stress, actually, people who lift weights or run or do any of these things, you cannot create muscle without pressure, without strain, without stress. So consider yourself, Chris, as an artist that is like a diamond in the rough. And when you feel that bubbling and that boiling and that stress and that that is in itself creating a diamond within you. So without being totally hippie here, but I do teach intuitive healing. And a lot of people think, oh, well, that's kind of the way you do things. There's blasé and let's go to the park and, sit by the sea. But the truth is, it's because we have it in us. The answers are there. The vibration just needs to be at the right level to find the right answers.
Right.
And also what Lisa was saying about the technical, I was so against AI because I am big into sci-fi, Twilight Zone, Carol Kavik, and the end of the world kind of dramas. But I forced myself because I knew I had to adapt. So I started to look into it. And I found out so many interesting things about how I myself am the voice of Dana, your personalized digital assistant. And I thought, oh, this is terrible. It's going to replace a human. But is it going to replace a miserable person who wants to, go on a coffee break? So
I love that.
And after COVID, after the pandemic, how many people missed diagnoses and how many people were, refused treatments? And died because of it, or have committed suicide, or the mental health has tripled with problems with depression and all the stress it's caused. And now, if we think about it, AI could assist with this because there are ways that many AI things are starting to recognize symptoms. There's a really crazy one that it looks, and WhatsApp is using this, Messenger and Instagram, good old who, where they can remotely look at how your motor skills are with the patterns you're typing. But what's good about that is that in theory, instead of having this huge waiting list, the NHS is especially one of the ones that suffer from massive waiting lists. People are waiting 2-3 years to see someone about their mental health. There's over 450 mental health disorders that we know about. And they're just increasing thanks to social media. So, imagine a system where the AI could help health professionals kind of list who really is in danger and who's threatened, because they are able to tell whether you're depressed from your motor skill patterns remotely. So this could go down the crazy zone, and it could be like, where, like in China, where your performance level isn't great because we can sense that your pupils are dilated and you're not, you're getting angry or whatever. And they are doing this with school children right now. They're putting on headsets and they're testing them to see if they're awake, if they're attentive, etc. But on the good side of it, it could be used to help people. They can diagnose autism with a simple, I think it's called, oh gosh, I have it here actually. It's like a light that they put in the right pupil, and they can tell if a child or an adult has autism. Imagine the potential to really help people, not have a GP that doesn't want to touch you, doesn't want to come near you, and barely finish medical school, over something that can say, hey, we can sense that you're prone to Parkinson's from your retina, your retina, or from your hand-eye coordination. It can be used for good, definitely. So there's so many things. There's disability assistance with AI and mapping for people. There's medical diagnosis. There's early detection of conditions like dementia and depression.
There's so many ways. There is so many ways, and it can be integrated, like you said, into different wellness, ways and healthcare and everything, and how it can improve all these different areas. And which leads me on to coming on the next question, which is, what are the challenges in maintaining human creativity in AI generative art? And Stacey, do you want to join us for this one?
Wow, what a question.
Come on, Stacey, you can do this.
I'm both optimistic and pessimistic. I found with my own entry into using AI to create art that I can get lazy. That's
Right.
the truth. That is the truth. I'm gonna say it. And sometimes I use it too much, and I think, oh God, am I losing my soul? Am I not going to be able to write? Am I just going to become like this big blob, like sitting there, like just putting my finger on the
Sorry about that. She was lots of music in the background. But anyway, let's start with you, Wish. Sorry, Terrence. Terrence, what do you have to say on this? Which is what the challenges in maintaining human creativity in AI generative art?
That was so dramatic. And then there were
I know,
six.
and I
There's
honestly,
just 6 of us now.
and also the music.
Oh,
A lot of music there, but yeah, continue.
I know the music was nice. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if the service is cutting in and out. It's acting a little funny on my end, but okay, the challenge is, well, it's understanding like what does it mean to be human, right? Um and you know, like art is understood and appreciated as a results oriented kind of, medium where it's kind of like this is the finished piece of art. There's a lot of, the artist is like, don't judge it until it's done and just all that stuff. But um using music as an example, um once an artist is successful, it's not uncommon to like have their demos kind of come out and all their like recording process, and they're debatably like not good compared to like the final thing, quote unquote. But I happen to appreciate them more because I feel like they're more real in the sense of like, oh, it shows the process. It shows like there was an actual person working. It's not just this magical thing where it's like magic wand, boom, and you get like the perfect song, which AI is helping everyone achieve, which is kind
Right.
of funny because it's like it might be the case where we seek to find what is the human creative element of the AI art. If it's the kind of thing where it's just kind of like, oh, it's a prompt and anyone can use it, um, our prompt's a form of human creativity, right? And it's funny, the challenges in maintaining human creativity. I mean, it's like what Lisa said about just like we can't control anything. We're in charge of what happens in this kind of immersive experience that we're living through. You're the
Yeah.
star of your story. But that's the thing. It's like it's a curious question. Where does the that spark of intuition come from? Where like AI does predictive sequencing to create the art, right? Do human artists learn to do that too? Where it's kind of like, oh, if I was to create art on commission, for a patron, and they gave me a set of prompts, I'd be like, oh, I know what they're going for. And if I got really good at that, then I'd be able to create what like the result is for, what Dolly can do or Midjourney. So, that's really the question. Maintaining human creativity. It's just, I think the real question is understanding what is human creativity and where
That's a
does
good
it begin and
question.
end. You know what I mean?
That's a good
Next
question.
time.
Yeah, that's
No,
what
I'm just
we'll end on that. But Terrence, thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
Russell. Thanks everyone too.
before we round up the panel, I just want to give a quick 30 seconds for everybody to, say basically where they can find you, like basically what your LinkedIn is, and basically how people can find you on LinkedIn or even on Instagram quickly. So where people basically can connect with you. So Mary, do you just want to share your LinkedIn or
Sure. I mean,
Instagram?
so my radio show was lifehacks.com. However, I officially gave it up last year because I'm trying to run retreats and do online hypnosis. So it is time, the number 4, change.info. So if you do want a voice for your hypnosis or anything like that, I'm also available to do that. But I would love to connect. I love creative people and it is what sparks my sort of delight in having conversations about things that are scary. So I would love for anyone to connect with me and possibly even maybe collaborate on something creative. Stacey was mentioning about turning into the blob. I've done that episode about, will AI take over for our voices and our beings and everything. So I would love to chat with you guys. It'll feel a little bit like a Mary Shelley moment being with such wonderful creative people. I appreciate your time. Thanks
for coming on, Mary. And Terrence, quickly, just Instagram, LinkedIn, whichever one. We've got to be quick because we're going to run out of time.
So real quick, my name, where is it? Right there. At Terrence Leclerc on your favorite social media. Hit me up. And Meta for You is the name of the company. So come visit, say hi, and connect on LinkedIn.
Chris Krug, over to you.
I have 30 seconds.
Yes, like literally less than 30 seconds. So be quick.
22, like 22 right now?
Like 22, quick.
All right. Let's grab our phones or our keyboards. Type in www.futureproofcreatives.com. www.futureproofcreatives.com. Send me an email. I'll send you an invite to our Discord. Would love to talk to everybody. Mary, I'm going to invite myself on your podcast. If you need a friendly guest, I'd love to podcast with you.
And Wish, quickly over to you, 30 seconds. Where can people find you quickly?
Sure. I'm Wishborn on most stuff, or OG Wishborn, OG.Wishborn on IG. That's where you can find most of my AI art. And Impact.do is our company where you can find Spark, or MINIREN.app is the main organization where you can find most of our work.
Lisa, quickly, 30 seconds. I mean, less than that.
Karen Lisa Atkinson on Instagram and LinkedIn. I use my full name because in the 90s, when I first Googled Lisa Atkinson, Los Angeles, there was 1,000 of them, believe it or not. So Karen Lisa Atkinson, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm very communicative, and I mentor a lot of people. I mentor a lot of AI generative artists on Instagram. So, and the difference between the two, ones who tell a story with their AI work and the other ones who just do still images that are whatever they are. There are some.
And sorry, just jump in again. Stacey Whittle, they can find you on LinkedIn, right?
Yes, and you should be here for this dance party right now. Yes, find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and I look forward to chatting with people more. But right now, I'm going to go off and dance.
All right, Stacey. And by the way, you can find me on LinkedIn as well, Russell Bundy, if you want to connect. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, guys. And just, maybe add our little emails or something onto the thing.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for a great panel.
Take care.
Take care.